Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Oliver from the Vejar Library. I want to share with you today a book about the Lunar New Year. It's called The Day the Dragon Danced. It's written by Haugaard and illustrated by Carolyn Reed Barrett. So, what's a dragon got to do with New Year's? It isn't even New Year's. Here it is February already. Grandma was cranky because she didn't want to go to the parade. I pulled her hand to make her go faster. I wanted to see the dragon dance. Dragons I read about weren't any too friendly, she said as we walked down toward Main Street. These are different dragons, Grandma. These are Chinese dragons. My teacher, Miss Peng, said they're wise and strong and chase away bad spirits or eat them up. That leaves all the good spirits for us. Then we'll have a good year. I could see the booths set up all around the street now as we got closer. There were Chinese paintings and calendars in the booths, and I could smell delicious things cooking. There were little tiny trees and bamboo in pots. That's what she says, huh? Said Grandma. We didn't have Chinese New Year's parade here in our town when I was a little girl. I never set eyes on a Chinese person till I was a grown woman. Now there's a Chinese restaurant on every corner. Grandma kept talking to herself as we walked among the booths. Now there's a taco stand. That's not Chinese. Look, Grandma, this is a dragon's beard candy. Can I have some? Miss Peng told us about it. All right, child. And a sesame seed bun? I guess as long as we've come, but that's all you hear. I pulled Grandma over to the curb with the other people, then looked down the street for the dragon. The parade hadn't started yet. The dragon was going to dance in the New Year's parade. First, it's your daddy going to do that Kung Fu class. And now it's Chinese New Year's parade here in February. Things sure are changing. And when did New Year's Day start being in February, Grandma grumbled. It's in February because the Chinese have a different calendar, Grandma. It's called a lunar calendar. That means it's based on the moon. I felt so smart to remember all the stuff we learned in school. Well, that really is something. You teaching me, honey. Can you remember what color Daddy's shoes are, Grandma? I pulled on her hand. How do you expect me to remember what color your daddy's shoes are, child? You're the smart little kid. You should be better remember things than I am. But suddenly I remembered something else Miss Ping had told us. Chinese dragons can fly through the air without any wings. Did you know that, Grandma? Your teacher said that too? Yes. There was a clanging sound, metal hitting metal. Sounds like the parade is starting. And I looked down the street. There were high school kids beating drums in time to clanging cymbals. They lifted their feet up and down like they were marching, but they didn't move. See, the drum beats the rhythm for the dragon to dance to, Grandma. He welcomes in the first day of the new year. He's going to dance? Well, I never saw a dragon dance. Now things started coming down the street. A man driving a red convertible went by. He waved to everyone and threw chocolate candy money wrapped in bright gold foil. The red streamers on his car fluttered. There were Chinese words on them. You know what that says, Grandma? I sure do not, but let me guess. Could it say, Happy New Year? That's right. In Chinese, you say, Gung Hai Fat Choi. Miss Peng told you that? No, Daddy did. When is the dragon coming? All at once there were firecrackers snapping and popping. Crack, snap, 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 crackle, pow! I jumped about a foot. "Oh, my heart!" cried Grandma, and then she laughed. A red fire truck with red and gold paper decorations slowly went down the road with lots of pretty girls were on the truck. They wore bright golden satin dresses. Some had long black hair and some had brown and one had yellow. We smiled and waved, and they threw money into the street. I ran out to pick up a shiny new penny. "Here, Grandma," I said, handing it to her. "See, that means you'll have lots of money in the new year." "I surely can use some of that, child," Grandma smiled, and she put the lucky penny in her purse. Then she rubbed me on the head. But where was the dragon? A clang of cymbals announced the dragon. "Grandma, look!" The dragon's huge red, green, white, and orange head came around the corner. His sharp white teeth shone in his wide open mouth. His fierce red eyes looked from side to side. Below his chin hung his white beard. "Look, look," I squealed. The dragon raised his head high, then made it low. His eyes rolled some more. "He's looking for bad things to eat up, Grandma." I giggled excitedly and grabbed Grandma's coat sleeve. The cymbals crashed and crashed for the dragon to keep time with his many, many feet. "Better watch out, child. You're pretty bad sometimes." And quickly she grabbed me around the middle and I jumped. Now we could see the dragon coming on a long, long, long row of legs. They all had red socks, but each pair ended in a different kind of athletic shoe. I watched the feet carefully. The dragon had white shoes with black trim, black shoes with white trim, white shoes with red trim, black shoes with red trim, red shoes with black trim, plain black shoes, and plain white, and even plain red shoes. What a long, long, long dragon he was. His bright red, green, and yellow cloth back curved like a stretched out parasol held up by poles. The cymbals crashed again, but the dragon didn't keep time. Some of his feet came down before the drum, some came down after. The dragon was not dancing, he was stumbling. I watched the shoes carefully. Boom, boom, boom went the drums. The dragon's back went up and his back went down, but it was bumpy, not smooth like a dragon should be. Gongs clanged, drums banged, feet went up and feet went down, all at the wrong times. "Why doesn't he dance, Grandma? He isn't even walking very well. I can't tell which shoes." I frowned at Grandma. She frowned back. "Look," I said, "his feet all are doing different things." Then the dragon stopped. His tail was right beside us, and there I saw Daddy's shoes. Now I remembered. He had red shoelaces. There they were, dragging on the pavement. All the feet went up and down in place. "Look, Grandma, there are Daddy's shoes, and his laces are untied." "Run quick," Grandma urged. "Go tie them." Running into the street, I slipped under the dragon and tied Daddy's shoelaces, then quickly smiled up at Daddy, and he smiled at me. Both of his hands were on a stick holding up the dragon's tail. Then his mouth said thanks, but he made no sound. When I ran back to the curb, the dragon started again. The fringe on his body shook like he was getting ready to do something. He curved clear from side to side of the street, but he didn't dance yet. Gradually, the dragon's legs started working together. He jumped on one side and then the other. Clang, clang, boom, boom went the cymbals and drum. It was almost a dance. His long body rippled up and down like bright sunset waves. He bounced back and forth with the drums. His front feet turned to one side and then the other. He raised his huge head to all the people, and he waved his pointed tail in the air. He rolled his red eyes and showed his pointed teeth. His mouth was big enough to swallow the sun. The dragon was dancing. Now, isn't that something? Grandma laughed as she bounced back and forth, too. See, Grandma, see, he's following the sun. Sun? Ha, that fancy red ball thing that the man is holding on a stick? Grandma and I followed the dragon as he wiggled and danced all the way down the block and around the corner. The dragon danced right into the parking lot and stopped. Then out stepped my daddy, Mr. Chu, who was the grocery store owner on the corner, Mr. Johnson, who owned the barber shop, Mr. Feng, who owned the video store, Mr. Gonzalez, who teaches 5th grade at our school, and Dr. Ito, who fixes my teeth. They all wore yellow satin suits and red socks with athletic shoes. Everyone was removing the poles they used to hold up the dragon. I ran over to Daddy and he stooped down and hugged me. The dragon didn't dance together so well at first, I said to him. That's all right, sugar, said Daddy. We did pretty well, just starting out. It takes a while to learn to dance together. Grandma came up behind me and smiled at everyone. Happy New Year, she said. Gong hei fat choi. Bye, boys and girls.